Thank you very much. We are now live again on the main stage. So thank you all for joining us. As mentioned, I'm sure there's some people who have just joined. So I will do just a quick reminder. Please make this session as interactive as possible. In the last one with Adobe, we had some great questions coming through. So for Sage's presentation, please put your questions in the Q&A. Upvote the ones that you want me to ask, and I'll be joining in about 20 minutes to ask the team at Sage any of your questions. And of course, we don't have time to answer all the great questions we've had. I encourage you to join the booths as well. So that's the kind of housekeeping done. I will introduce the team at Sage. So thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciated it. And I'll hand over to you. We look forward to hearing all about Sage.
Thank you. So welcome from myself. So my name is Paul Tulip. So welcome to the Sage. So it's the Ignite Product and Technology Graduate Program. My name is Paul Tulip. So I'm the program lead. I'm also a development team lead on Sage 50 Accounts program. My background there is I've got an accounting and finance degree many years ago, and I've also got a postgrad in computing as well. I've got two of the graduates who have just moved into year 2 of the program. Welcome to Tatenda and to Eddie. They'll introduce themselves in a moment. Thanks for the wave, Eddie. And Tatenda, if you give us a wave as well. Thank you. Okay, so as I said before, I'm the program lead. The graduate program, it's a 2-year program. Just to go through. So the program overview. So what is Sage Ignite? So it's an existing 2-year development program for graduates joining Sage in product and technology roles. It launches October each year. So we've just had something like nearly 50 graduates started this week. So it's entirely virtual. So the program, so we've got graduates in UK, and that's Newcastle, Manchester, Winnersh and London. Graduates in Dublin and Ireland. We've also got 2 graduates in North America starting this year. One's in Seattle and one's in Atlanta. We've also got graduates in Spain, majority are in Barcelona. And this year, for the first time, we've also got 5 graduates joining us in India. So it is really a global sort of program. And because it's entirely virtual now, all of the graduates across the globe, they will get the same experience and same training. So that's that consistent experience they're going to get as well. So it aims to transition graduates from entry level to the next job structure level by the end of the program, by that end of the 2 years. And typically, and apologies, I always use developers as an example because I'm a development team lead. So the graduate who exits the program, such as Eddie next year, depending on his level, he will either exit as an associate or as a developer. So the graduate program, so its purpose is to accelerate the development of new and diverse talent with high potential into priority roles in the product teams. There's a number of roles, available for people. So whether it's the traditional sort of developer, QA test, business analyst, or then there's usability as well. I'm not going to go through all of the roles there. So when the applications open in December, you'll be able to see all of those roles available there. And just to go through, the program started 5 years ago now with 12 graduates. We're now up to sort of similar roles. Last year we had a virtual 50-50 male-female split, and the retention's still high. So, for example, even back in that first year, about 5 years ago, we've still got 67% of still working at Sage as well. And for FY22, so financial year starts in October, again, we've got similar numbers in there as well. So what is the graduate program? I'll just spend about 5-10 minutes just going through really the structure, and then I'll move on to Tatenda and Eddie. So the development areas, so all graduates will join. They will have a week Ignite welcome. So that introduces graduates to the program, the expectations and support. Again, for Eddie and Tatenda, they joined last year. Everybody working from home in lockdowns. Again, it was that sort of great experience for them. They all came together, joining on that onboarding process. So again, that will go through. So generally, the graduates will start in October. For this year, graduates join the Ignite program in November, so it gives them a few weeks onboarding, and then we sort of start off with the program itself. We've got a great buddy and mentor scheme available. So just to distinguish that, obviously a lot of graduates coming out of university, it's their first role. So we do assign one of the year 2 graduates to be your buddy when you do join Sage as well. And that's really just to help them sort of ongoing, and just perhaps some of those questions, you know, sort of generic ones, and, you know, that you need just somebody who's gone through the grad program before, and also that sort of joining across from university. And also, again, you'll be assigned a mentor. A mentor is normally generally somebody with a bit more experience on your immediate team. So, for example, if you join as a developer, you'll be assigned on to normally an Agile Scrum team, which may also have seniors and developers as well as test on there. So generally, you'll be assigned as a mentor, a senior, and they talk through a lot of the sort of, you know, the more sort of programming, give you advice on what you should be actually learning through there as well. And also hands-on as well, you know, as you're working on features and working on bug fixing and so forth. The training we've got, it's split into 3 different parts over the 2 years. So training's generally monthly. So we've got leadership development, and that's sort of building up some of that SaaS, that software as a service behaviors. So we'll go through, the first year is really around, you know, sort of accountability for yourself. So it might be sort of time management, it might be presentation skills. And then in the second year, you move on to perhaps, you know, being accountable for yourself, but also taking more leadership of others as well. So it's things like sort of coaching, project management, you know, different areas of those, just to build up that experience. So that's one part of the training that you'll have. Another part is the technical and business expertise. So, for example, all graduates are given a Pluralsight license. We have a number of business drop-in sessions, and then myself and the sort of learning team will work out sort of, you know, that business expertise, building up that you need. There will be technical parts, but a lot of the technical training as well. In Pluralsight, you might have channels that you'll work with your mentor on as well. So really those are training for building up. And the last part as well is product excellence. So product excellence is something we introduce in year 2. And that's really sort of building up those soft skills. It's linking into SaaS, and it's foundation skills across core activities of the Sage product framework. And again, it's what makes a great product, you know, with the focus around sort of customers, you know, the focus around what goes in and speaking to customers. It's around what makes a great product, and around sort of innovation and that continuous innovation that runs through Sage as well. A lot of the graduates are champions on continuous innovation, and it's interacting with those across the business. And it's a great example of, you know, how the graduates do network across. What else have we got as well? So we've got, we have a monthly Sage Ignite forum. So again, the forum, it's for the graduates. We break it into the 2 different year groups, so that's smaller numbers, because I didn't mention, but obviously if each of the graduate year groups have got about 40, 50 graduates, it does show it nearly 100 graduates over the 2 years, the sheer scale of the program. But the program, we will look at areas, we'll cover some of the training that comes up. We also give the opportunities for graduates to lead the forums. So again, it gives them a chance to build on some of that presentation and organization skills. And again, you know, for example, Tatenda's on the course, so she's been a team captain in the first year. You know, we'll get input on there, and she'll cover a few of those things that she's covered in her talk. And then all of the training, you know, as everybody probably appreciates, what we want to do is add a practical side of things as well. So we have a number of special projects that we work on through the, you know, grad focused. Where that's obviously we have to be careful. You know, everybody will have the day jobs, whether it's developer, business analyst, or whatever. So generally, the special projects might just be 1 or 2 hours a week. And examples of some of those special projects, you know, a group of the graduates worked on a neurodiversity project, which was to provide information to managers throughout Sage, which was, you know, received some great feedback. A number of the graduates work on security. So look, you know, they've been looking at things like OWASP leaderboards, working on front end, back end. And the special projects, again, it gives the graduates a chance to work on some of those skills. So, for example, they may carry on as a developer. They may want to give business analyst or tester some experience of that. And again, also some of those will lead some of the projects. So it builds on that project management skills as well that they've worked on. So those are the special projects. And the last thing as well is Sage Ambassador. It's important that the graduates, also go back into the community. So in similar examples here where we've got Tatenda and Eddie, we've got some of the other graduates in the breakout rooms over the next couple of days. There's some great examples where graduates have gone out to university careers fairs, into school career fairs, and also involved with, for example, I know our line manager graduate last year, and he went out into, just before lockdowns, he went into one of the Developer Northeast meetups and did a talk on that. So it's really just going back out and sort of supporting. And again, as that Sage Ambassador, and I don't want to spoil Tatenda's thunder, we do foundations. So again, it's those 5 days foundation that all employees can take as well. I recently worked at Jarrow, just working on one of the name escapes me, but it was also just clearing pathways, clearing the routes as well, just around there. So everybody gets involved. It's not just graduates as well. So I think my time is up. As per usual, I can talk all day about the grad program, but what I will do now is hand over to Tatenda. So big hand to Tatenda.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. So I'm Tatenda. I'm a graduate product manager here at Sage, and I'm just going to start off by telling you a little bit more about myself. So next slide, please, Paul. So a bit of my background in terms of education. So I graduated last year in 2020 from Aston University in Birmingham, where I was studying a master's degree in chemical engineering. So I've been in education for quite a long time because after my A-levels, I did a foundation year, a general engineering foundation year. And then after that, I enrolled onto the chemical engineering integrated master's program. So I did my first 2 years there. And then for my third year, I did an industrial placement year at a company called Edwards Vacuum, which is an electrical engineering company where I worked as a research data analyst. And then following that, I went back to Aston University where I finished off my third year, which is essentially the bachelor's year. And then I stayed on for another year on the same course to finish up with a master's degree in chemical engineering. So that's a bit about my education background. So obviously following that, I then was applying for roles and I applied for the Sage role. I did this on LinkedIn. So the recruitment process was completely virtual as we were still like in the pandemic. So I applied for the role on LinkedIn. This was basically an online CV application, CV submission, and then filling in the online application form as well. And then following that, I passed on to the next stage, which was the video interview, which is kind of like a digital interview with pre-recorded questions. So following that, I went on to the next stage. And again, this was the virtual assessment center, which was obviously done completely virtual, which involved like group activities and one-to-one interviews, as well as a presentation. So following that, I received my offer about a couple of days after the assessment center, which I accepted. And then I got the role of graduate product manager at Sage. So yesterday was actually my 1 year anniversary with Sage. We call it a Sageversary. So that made it 1 year since I did this whole complete process and I started my onboarding week. So next slide. So like I said, the onboarding week was completely virtual, and basically I've been working virtual for the most part of the first year, up until like in the summer where we started going into the office. But just to tell you about what it's like working remotely and just starting up at Sage. So leading up to the onboarding week, after I received the offer, I basically was sent all my IT equipment, which included like my laptop and all the other bits and bobs that I needed to start my role. And one thing I would applaud Sage on is their support. Their support was definitely there, because obviously this was a bit unusual way of doing things, as we were doing things virtually, but it was absolutely amazing. I remember when I first got my laptop, the first time I logged onto my laptop, my email was already loaded with emails from different people. This included, my manager, some of the graduate representatives, as well as my graduate buddy who Paul talked about before. So I never actually felt that I was alone. I felt like I was supported, and I had plenty of people that I could go to if I needed any questions. But so there was a lot of obviously community and inclusion. And one thing I also remember as well was just meeting up with all the graduates virtually, and we had a group chat where we could ask ourselves questions and get to know each other. So although everything was virtually, we definitely stayed in contact, and there was constant support throughout the whole process. So yeah, next slide, please, Paul. So just to tell you a little bit more about a day in the life of a graduate product manager. So product management, especially in my role, I work in a global team. So my team members are spread out across the globe. I have some team members in South Africa, some are in France. So it truly is like a global team. So with this, it requires quite a lot of flexibility. So I know some mornings may be a little bit earlier than usual, so because of the time differences and so sometimes I can have meetings as early as 8 a.m. But one thing I'd like to emphasize in terms of product management is that there is no typical day, because every day is a little bit different. And a lot of the work that we do is quite project-based. So depending on the project and my involvement in that project, where typically I work with the senior product manager and I just help them with a particular project that they're working on. So this can look like, doing research or conducting surveys to understand the market and the customer requirements. So I did chemical engineering at uni, so I was quite new to the world of product management, but essentially with product management, it's about adding incremental value to a particular project. As you may know, with Sage, we have a wide range of portfolio. So the product that I specifically work on is Sage X3. So as a product manager, we release quarterly updates on this product. So this involves different types of projects that enhance the features of the product, making it better and more user-friendly for the customer as well. So that's typically the work that I do, but obviously this also involves a lot of trainings and learnings. At Sage, we have so many resources and so many different websites that we can use to continue to grow and learn. We use Pluralsight, we use LinkedIn Learning. I also use Sage University, where I have a lot of support in terms of learning and personal development. But over the course of the year, I have learned so much. I've had plenty of opportunities of conducting presentations. I know I've even spoken at the Sage Partner Summit, which is like a global event where our partners come, and then I got to present there as well. So although I'm new in terms of being new to Sage, and also I'm new in terms of the role of product management, I have had plenty of responsibility and plenty of opportunities to also just deliver a value and add value to the team. So that's what it's been like working at Sage. But I'm just going to move on to the next slide now, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about the graduate community. I know Paul talked about the Sage Ignite program, and he also mentioned that I'm one of two team captains for the graduate program. So this has been a very rewarding role, where my role is basically to act as a middle person between the graduates and leaders of the graduate role like Paul. So this has involved a lot of different activities. This has involved a lot of planning. So as most things were being done virtually over the course of the year, me and my partner, Claire, we managed to plan a number of virtual events for the graduates. So these included socials where we play games on a Friday night, and just to have more fun, even though it was virtually for most of the time. But these pictures were actually taken sometime in September, where we had our first ever in-person event as graduates. This was such an amazing day. We got to have a social on the first day, and then the second day, we took part in a Sage Foundation activity at Clothe and Feed. So as Paul said, in Sage, you're encouraged to take up to 5 days to do some Sage Foundation work, which basically helps the local communities around you. So this is what has been like being part of the graduate community. So we have constant support. We have each other, and though we hadn't met for majority of the year, I would like to say that we were all supported, and it felt like we're a team, and it's been a great experience being a part of the graduate community here at Sage. So I think I've covered everything that I had to say. So I'll now hand over to Eddie. Thank you.
Thanks, Tatenda. So, hey everyone, I'm Eddie, and today I'd like to tell you about what a day in my life as a grad at Sage is like. Next slide, please. First, just a little bit about myself. I studied electronic engineering with computer systems at the University of Surrey. It was a MEng course, which is a sandwich of bachelor's and master's, and I graduated from that in 2020. Perhaps not the easiest or happiest year to graduate given the global circumstances, but still made it. Not long after that, in October, I joined Sage as a graduate engineer in the Manchester office. And now I'm in my second year working in backend software development. And ever since I joined, on a normal day, I started off by waking from my beauty sleep at around 8 a.m., doing all my morning rituals and getting ready. And since I work from home, my office is like 20 feet away from my bedroom. So that's pretty much my morning commute done. I then check my emails, go through notifications, messages, calendar, setting my priorities, and planning out my work for the rest of the day. On my team, we also have a weekly rota to send out logs for our service on a Slack channel. So on my week, I send those out and report any issues that we have. And then after that, I joined the daily stand-up, where each of us share what we did the day before and our plans for the rest of the day. On a typical day, I'll usually be working on a task that I've been assigned from a backlog during our sprint planning sessions. These are where we plan what we do for the next 2 weeks. And these can either be small or short tasks, such as minor bug fixes or tech improvements, or things that can be finished within the same day or just a few hours. But there can also be big or major tasks like designing or creating an entire endpoint, or refactoring that takes a few days to finish and often require more collaboration with our quality assurance or QA team members. So these are often more heavy tasks. Also, on the last Friday of each month, we have what is called a Pioneer Friday, which is a day where each of us on our team gets to innovate and work on an idea or part of the project of our choosing to provide new innovative and creative solutions, try and help them improve the overall project or our workflow. And in addition to that, we're also encouraged to take personal development days, which I think are really important. I've taken a few myself, which are basically days where we can use to read up or learn about a certain technology or tool or new software advancement or something, or even study courses just to improve ourselves and maybe learn a new skill if we want to. So that's always a great thing to have, and we're always encouraged to do that. But as a graduate, I also participate in a variety of other activities as part of the Sage Ignite program, which a lot of them were mentioned by Tatenda and Paul too, but I couldn't have put it any better in all the great ways we can experience Sage. So we have regular leadership training sessions and forums, along with our courses that help us excel as an employee here at Sage. we also get opportunities to get involved in special projects that Paul mentioned. And these are projects of our choosing in various areas, even ones that like could be slightly outside of our area that we're currently working in. I myself worked on a front end project, and even though I'm a back end developer, so that gave me front end and UX design experience that I wanted to learn about. Excuse me. And as a grad, we also get assigned a second year graduate buddy, which this year I will be since I'm second year now. And also a mentor, which will help us in our learning process. So mentors usually typically help learn about the skills that we use for our actual role. And generally both of us help assist us with any help that we need, and whether that's learning our culture or just improving our skills in general. And aside from all the learning, we also get a lot of opportunities to get involved in a lot of various activities, whether that's volunteering as a group in Sage Foundation or even just regular get-togethers or social events that Zenda like usually arranges or has spoken about previously. And we've had a lot of these. And even though we got introduced to each other, like all of us grads, like virtually, just in the matter of like a week or a few weeks, it felt like we're already family in that way. And like the virtual way of communication, in my opinion, also sort of helped us connect, because I'm in Manchester and most of them are in the Newcastle office. So that sort of opened a bridge between us to always like stay in touch in that way. And that's been really cool. I really like that. But even beyond the Sage Ignite program, as a grad and a Sage colleague, I get to participate in many ways around the company. We get many opportunities to represent Sage and participate in public events and activities, whether that's in person, such as in going to universities and representing Sage, or in virtual events such as this one, or even going through campaigns on social media. We also have what's called colleague success networks, which we can join and are a great way to enable us colleagues to collectively come together and support each other and provide insight back to the business, helping create an inclusive culture for all of us at Sage. And when I first joined Sage, I immediately joined the Pride at Sage Colleague Success Network and have been participating in various activities within that ever since. Many of us also get involved in welcoming new grads in Onboarding Week and assisting them with whatever they need to get acclimated and be part of the Sage family. And lastly, of course, we can also individually get involved in Sage Foundation activities and events, whether that's a run or a fundraiser or an educational event. And there's always a lot of those. And we get like 5 days a year to do basically whatever we want from Sage Foundation. So just to give you some examples, here are some of the things that I got involved in since I joined, starting with last year's RMP event, just like this one that happened, where I got the chance to meet many of the newly grads in the audience in our booth, and I'm looking forward to doing that again this year with you guys. So I also helped set up a new Sage Foundation event in partnership with a UK-based charity called Special Effect. And those provide accessible tools to help gamers with certain disabilities game better and even the playing field. Also, as part of the Pride at Sage CSN, I've been sharing messages, writing articles, participating in videos and events, and that's just to name a few. And honestly, it's sort of been like one of my favorite parts of ever since joining Sage, because it's not just like the work that I do within my team or like just our typical job, but we get so many opportunities to get involved and do a lot of like different kinds of like things that are not actual work in a way like our typical job. So it keeps it like always fun and changing, gives us opportunities to do what we want and sort of enjoy our time here at Sage. And so, yeah, these are just some of the examples, and I'm looking to even more participation in the second year at Sage and even more in the years after that. And on that note, I'd like to end by wishing you all good luck on your journeys and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Eddie. And I'd just say time's flown by, because I remember interviewing Eddie, it must be 18 months ago now. And yeah, 18 months on, he's still doing talks. So thanks, Eddie, and also thanks to Denda. Okay.
Yeah, that was so informative and inspiring. Thank you, everyone. It sounds like you're getting involved with a lot, both, I guess, within the work setup and outside as well. So looks like a great place to work. I'm conscious of time. The good news, however, is that we've got half an hour for networking in the employer booths, because loads of questions have come in. So thank you all so much for those. Really appreciate them. Good mix of recruitment related questions and also kind of what it's like to work at Sage. So We're not going to have a chance to ask them and answer them on the main stage, but we've got half an hour in the employer booths. So any questions that you've got, please head over to Sage and all of our other employer booths now, and then you can get them asked and answered in that environment. But for me, thank you very much to all three of you. Really appreciate it. We're going to be back on the main stage in half an hour.